let's learn about trains. I know you guys like train content, and we've watched a lot of molding, angry content about how people can't afford rent and how the moon is going to wobble us to early climate change apocalypse, and how Caitlin Bennett is awful. So let's learn a little bit about trains. Trains are good. Matty Cakes, you should have told me you were in Minnesota. We could have like met up and like said hello to each other, and like gotten coffee at like a cute little coffee shop or something. That's where I live. Do you not like trains, or is that a step back? What? No, I like trains. Trains are great. We're gonna learn about the fastest train ever built, the SC Maglev. Okay, next time.
This video was made possible by CuriosityStream. Watch thousands of high-quality documentaries and get access to my streaming service Nebula by using the link more than 200 kilometers per hour. The bullet train transformed Japan and kickstarted a revolution in high-speed rail around the world. Now, the Japanese are setting out to do it again. This time by building a new kind of train that'll operate at an incredible 500 kilometers per hour. The world's fastest train will connect Japan's two largest cities, and it'll be faster than flying, covering the 400-kilometer distance in just 67 minutes.
Damn.
But this is also one of the most expensive transport projects in history, and an enormous bet on a technology that has yet to prove itself. And some question whether building the world's fastest train really makes sense.
Ooh, we can hang out and wear sweaters. It'll be great sweater weather.
Even as the first bullet trains began operating in 1964, Japanese engineers were already working on a radical new kind of train. With cutting-edge rail technologies, bullet trains could operate at speeds once thought impossible. And while there was still plenty of room to get them to go even faster, engineers realized that at some point, trains would hit a speed limit. The friction, vibration, and noise from conventional steel wheels would simply become too great. To go much faster, they'd need a new kind of train. So, to eliminate rail friction, engineers would get rid of the wheels altogether and instead use magnetic force to levitate the train inside a guideway. Although the solution seemed radical, the idea of magnetically levitating a train had been around since the early 1900s, with the first patents appearing in 1912. But the technologies needed to make such a train actually work were only beginning to come together in the 1960s. Among early experiments with maglevs, Japan and Germany emerged as leaders, each investing heavily in unique versions of the technology. By the 1980s, prototype maglevs were making headlines, breaking speed records, and
Trains
promising
are so
to
fucking
revolutionize
cool, guys.
railways. But it would be another 2 decades before the first high-speed maglev would see commercial operation. It wasn't until 2004, with the opening of the Shanghai Transrapid, that maglevs had finally overtaken conventional rail as the fastest trains in the world.
How fast
On the
it
line
goes.
connecting Shanghai with its airport, maglevs, based on Germany's technology, routinely reach 430 kilometers per hour. But since opening
We can have trains that literally travel as fast as airplanes, guys. We could do it, and they don't need to like have jets on the back. They just like float on magnets. It's so cool. Yeah, Matty Cakes, I feel the same way. I like specifically magnets and airplanes. Like, I understand the science of how they work, but like my lizard brain's just like, this is magic. This should not work. Like me stepping into a metal cylinder, flying through the air, this weird like invisible force that separates these two things. It's just magic.
Almost 20 years ago, it's still the only high-speed maglev in operation, because much of the world has since given up on the technology. There were once ambitious plans to build high-speed maglev lines around the world, with some even projecting that North America...
Why'd you link this to me? 130, you said?
What's your favorite hobby?
Magnets.
Okay, what, like making magnets, collecting magnets?
Playing with magnets?
Just magnets.
I'm gonna put snowboarding. We'll put snowboarding.
I don't really snowboard.
All right, what are some of your likes?
Ghouls.
Son of a bitch. What are you talking about
Little
now?
funny little green ghouls.
What? Like in movies and cartoons?
Little green ghouls, buddy.
Don't write goals.
I'm not. I'm putting travel.
Jesus Christ, what are you dislikes?
People's knees.
Oh, come on!
Okay, that was pretty good.
Alone would see thousands of kilometers constructed by the 2020s. But plans never materialized. The problem is, maglevs are expensive. Compared to conventional high-speed rail lines, they cost anywhere from 2 to 3 times more to build. And they don't work with existing infrastructure. Unlike high-speed trains, which can make use of more than 1 million kilometers of conventional rail lines already in existence, along with stations built out in almost every city. Since 1964, over 50,000 kilometers of high-speed...
I was just watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia before I started streaming, and it was the episode where Charlie does Home Alone. He gets left behind during the Super Bowl and falls into his own bear trap. It's an incredible episode. It's an incredible episode. It made me laugh out loud.
Speed rail line have been constructed, a number expected to double in the coming decades. That compares to less than 100 kilometers of maglev lines built in the same time period. The world seems to have moved on, but Japan is still forging ahead. Japan's massive bet on maglev technology starts with geography. The world's first intercity maglev line, being built by the Central Japan Railway Company, will connect the country's 2 largest cities, just like the first bullet trains did in 1964. But today, where it takes 2.5 hours for the fastest bullet trains to travel between Tokyo and Osaka, the new maglev line will cut that down to just 67 minutes. And it means that 3 cities with a combined population of more than 18 million people will be brought within commuting distance, effectively transforming them into a single giant city. A degree of mobility that promises to...
I want this in the United States. Give us flying trains, please.
Boost Japan's entire economy. But there are also more pressing reasons to build the new line. The existing Shinkansen line already carries nearly 500,000 passengers every single day. But with bullet trains often spaced just 3 minutes apart, it's reaching its limit. And so is the infrastructure, which is now almost 60 years old. And the existing line also runs through the most earthquake-prone regions of Japan. One major earthquake could sever the country's most critical rail link, causing enormous financial damage. The maglev line will instead take a more direct route between the major cities through a much less seismically active mountain range. And it means that over 80% of the line will run through tunnels, some of which will be 25 kilometers long and 1.5 kilometers below the surface. The first section is expected to open in 2027, with the remaining connection to Osaka completed a decade later. But when it's all said and done, Japan's high-speed intercity maglevs will be the fastest way to travel between Japan's major cities, even faster than flying. Making such eye-watering speeds
faster than
possible
flying?
is a
That's
technology that's been in
crazy.
development for over 50 years. It's called SC Maglev. The SC stands for superconducting. To levitate trains off their guideway, electromagnets are cooled to extreme temperatures in order to take advantage of a phenomenon called superconductivity, which significantly increases magnetic force. The train's electromagnets
cool.
interact with coils embedded inside a guideway. One set of coils is used to propel the train, while the other is for levitation and guidance. The second set of coils is unpowered. It means SC maglevs must first accelerate on wheels to 150 kilometers per hour before they can induce a magnetic field to levitate. But once up to speed, the trains are dynamically stable, requiring no active systems to keep them stable and centered. The trains are also fully autonomous, controlled not by a driver, but by the track, meaning collisions are almost impossible. And with 3 separate braking systems, they can also stop faster than conventional trains. This is a train straight out of the future, and it'll be the most ambitious implementation of maglev technology. But does it actually make sense to build? For nearly 60 years, Japan has continued to develop their iconic bullet trains. Today, they're recognized as some of the most advanced, reliable, and efficient high-speed trains in the world. leading some to question whether the switch to maglev is less of a leap forward and more of a misstep.
Are you kidding
To start,
me?
SC maglevs are smaller than bullet trains in almost every dimension, and it means they'll carry fewer passengers, nor will they run as frequently as bullet trains. Maglev switches, the mechanism that allows maglevs to switch tracks, are much slower than conventional rail switches. It means maglevs must operate at least 10 minutes apart, compared to just 3 minutes for bullet trains. Smaller trains, running less frequently, means Japan's maglev will never match the capacity of a conventional bullet train, all the while consuming a lot more energy. Below 300 kilometers per hour, the energy consumption of a bullet train and maglev aren't that different, but operating at 500 kilometers per hour introduces much more air resistance, made worse by running mostly through tunnels. It means to operate at twice the speed of bullet trains, SC maglevs will consume 4 times more energy. And the project is already the most expensive in Japan's history, estimated to cost at least 5.5 times more than the original 1964 bullet train line. Much of it owing to the amount of tunneling required, but also the cost of building entirely new stations next to or below existing ones. Proponents argue that SC maglev technology can be exported to the rest of the world.
True.
The question is,
Exported
where? The rest
to
of the
the
world
United
has
States.
already passed up on Germany's Transrapid in favor.
No, send it here, please. I would very much like 500 kilometer per hour trains in the United States, please. Let's just connect all of the Midwest into the super Midwest region. We just have one giant interconnected Midwest. It'll be great, okay? It'll be great. I want to be able to go to Chicago in less than 12 hours, okay? That'd be nice.
Of conventional high-speed
Why not
rail.
fire people out of a
China
giant
is
cannon?
the only other country still researching ultra-high-speed maglevs, showing off its own prototype in 2021. But the country also recently renewed its commitment to expand its conventional high-speed rail network by tens of thousands of kilometers by the end of the decade. While there are proposals to implement SC maglev technology elsewhere, the reality is few places in the world have Japan's combination of wealth, population density, and appetite for enormously expensive infrastructure projects, leaving many to question whether Japan's enormously expensive investment into maglev can ever really pay off. When the Japanese were pouring billions into constructing the first bullet train, many ridiculed it as a misguided effort. Railways were viewed as a dead technology, too slow to survive the modern age. But the world's first high-speed railway was an enormous success, and other countries soon followed with their own massive investments in high-speed rail. The SC maglev is Japan's next quantum leap. Operating at speeds well beyond the reach of conventional rail, it'll be cleaner, quieter, safer, and more comfortable than any train before it. But these benefits will be weighed against enormous development and infrastructure costs. The SC maglev story is yet to be written, and it remains to be seen whether the project can herald in a new era of high-speed ground transport, or whether it's destined to join other failed attempts at reinventing railways.
We need a new intercontinental, we need a new continental railroad. Just build across America a giant railroad, okay? Let's just build like 5 of them, okay? It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing.
If you're wondering how I make my videos or what software I use,
I'm not. But thank you. That was a very interesting train video. But how will we pay for it? We pay for it the same way we pay for every incredible $2 trillion tax cut, okay? By printing more money. Let's see. So, the Shanghai Maglev, let's see. It's about $60 million per mile of track. So what is the cost? DC, or let's do New York to LA miles. All right. So if it's roughly the same amount of mileage, I would assume building different tracks, around 2,780, we'll say it's a cool 2,790 miles. So 2,790 times 60 million equals that is a large number, actually. That is an extremely large number. $167 billion, which surprisingly is, while large, not as large as I thought it would be. Like, for a one-time cost of $167 billion, we could have a maglev train across the entirety of the United States. Yeah, it's not, like, that's not that big. That's not that bad at all. Like, with $1 trillion, we could probably build an entire maglev rail network to every major city in America. And if we did something along the lines of eminent domain to seize a lot of that land to make sure that we're able to actually build it, and if we, I don't know, rolled back some of those Trump tax cuts that amounted to $2 trillion, we could just use half of that money to pay for maglev rail. Heck, we can use it as part of the infrastructure package. Let's add just like another $1 trillion to our infrastructure bill that Biden's passing right now, and yeah, well, let's get our maglev trains.